made up of around 200 islands in the northeastern Indian Ocean, about 130 kilometers southwest of the coast of Myanmar's Irrawaddy region. Together with Nicobar Islands to their south, the Andaman serve as the maritime boundary between the Bay of Bengal to the west and Andaman Sea to the east. Most of the islands of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are a union territory of India, while the Coco and the Preparis Island are a part of the Yangon region of Myanmar. The Andaman Islands are home to the Andamanese, a group of indigenous people made up of a number of tribes, including the Jarwa and the Sentinelese. While some of the islands can be visited with permits, entry to others, including North Sentinel Island, is banned by law. The Sentinelese are generally hostile to visitors and have little contact with any other people. The Indian government and Coast Guard protect their right to privacy. Andaman Archipelago is an oceanic continuation of the Burmese Arakan-Yoma range in the north and of the Indonesian archipelago in the south. It has 325 islands covering an area of 2,474 square miles, with the Andaman Sea to the east between the islands and the coast of Myanmar. North Andaman Island is 285 kilometers south of Burma, although a few smaller Burmese islands are closer, including the three Coco Islands. The 10-degree channel separates Andaman from the Nicobar Islands to the south. The highest point is located in North Andaman Island, the Saddle Peak. The geology of the Andaman Islands consists essentially of late Jurassic to early Eocene ophiolites and sedimentary rocks, deformed by numerous deep faults and thrusts, with ultramafic igneous intrusions. There are at least 11 mud volcanoes on the island. There are two volcanic islands, Narcondam and the Barren Island, which have produced basalt and andesite. Barren Island is the only active volcano in the Indian subcontinent, with the latest eruption reported in late December 2022, leading to the potential for geotourism. The Middle Andaman's harbor most moist deciduous forest. North Andaman is characterized by the wet evergreen type with plenty of woody climbers. The natural vegetation of Andaman is tropical forest with mangroves on the coast. The rainforest is similar in composition to the west coast of Burma. Most of the forests are evergreen, but there are other areas, deciduous forest of the North Andaman, Middle Andaman, Baratang and parts of South Andaman Island. The South Andaman forest have a profuse growth of epiphytic vegetation, mostly ferns and orchids. The Andaman forests are large, unspoiled despite logging and the demands for fast-growing population driven by immigration from mainland India. There are protected areas on the Little Andaman, Narcondam, North Andaman and South Andaman, but these are mainly aimed at preserving the coast and the marine wildlife rather than the rainforest. Threats to wildlife come from introduced species including rats, dogs, cats and elephants of Interview Island and North Andaman. Andaman forests contain 200 or more timber-producing species of trees, out of which about 30 varieties are considered to be commercial. Major timber-producing species are gurjan, paddock. The following ornamental woods are also present, such as the marblewood, paddock, silver grey, chewy, cocoa. Paddock is sturdier than teak and is widely used for the furniture purposes. Andaman Islands are a home to a number of animals, many of which are endemic. Andaman and Nicobar Islands are home to 10% of all Indian fauna species. The islands by ratio is only 0.25% of country's geographical area, has 11,009 species according to the latest publication by the Zoological Survey of India. Among important mammalian species are the Andaman spiny shrew, the Andaman shrew, Jenkins shrew, Andaman horseshoe bat, Andaman rat, the banded pig, also known as the Andaman wild boar and once thought to be endemic subspecies, is protected by Wildlife Protection Act. The spotted deer, Indian moonjak and sambar were all introduced to the Andaman Islands through the sambar did not survive. Interview Island, the largest wildlife sanctuary in the territory in Middle Andaman, holds a population of feral elephants which were brought for forest work from mainland India by a timber company and released when the company went bankrupt. This population has been subject to research studies. Among important bird species of the Andaman area included serpent eagle, crake, wood pigeon, cuckoo dove, brown cockle subspecies, scopus owl, hawk owl, Narcondam hornbill, woodpecker, tronco, tree pie, white-headed sterling, plume-toed swiftlet, the edible net swiftlet. The island's many caves, such as the Chalice Egg, are nesting grounds for edible net swiftlet, which are nets that are prized in China for bird net soup. Important reptilians and amphibians that are present in the island includes the Andaman cobra, South Andaman krait, and Andaman water monitor. There is a sanctuary around 72 kilometers from Havelock Island for the saltwater crocodiles. For over the past 25 years, there have been 24 crocodile attacks with 4 fatalities, including death of American tourist Lauren Failla. The government has been criticized for failing to inform tourists of the crocodile sanctuary and danger while simultaneously promoting tourism in the area. Crocodiles are not only found within the sanctuary but throughout the island chain in varying densities. They are habitat restricted, so the population is stable but not very large. Populations occur throughout available mangrove habitats. On all major islands, the species use the ocean as a means of travel between rivers and estuaries, thus they are not as common observed in open ocean. It is best to avoid swimming near mangrove areas and the mouths of creeks. Swimming in open ocean should be safe, but it is better to have a spotter around. A small nation, mostly indigenous people living in this area, represent the Andamanese tribe. As of 2011, the population of Andaman has been estimated around 300,000 plus, having grown from 50,000 in 1960. The bulk of the population originates from migrants who came to the island since the colonial times, mainly Bengalis, Telugu, Tamils, and other ethnicities. A small minority of the population are Andamanese, the aboriginal inhabitants of the island. When they first came into the sustained contact with outside groups in the 1850s, they were estimated around 7,000 Andamanese divided into the Great Andamanese, Jarawa, Jangil or Rutland Jarawa, Ongi and the Sentinelese. The Great Andamanese formed 10 tribes of 5,000 people total. As the number of settlers from the mainland increased, at first mostly prisoners and involuntary indentured laborers, later purposely recruited farmers, the Andamanese suffered a population decline due to the introduction of outside infectious disease, land encroachment from settler, and land conflicts. The Andaman Islands are home to the Sentinelese people, a predominantly uncontacted tribe. Due to their isolated island location, the Andaman people have mostly avoided contact with the outside world. Their language is a great reflection of these, with distinct linguistics that have strong morphological features, root words, prefix, suffixes with very little relation to surrounding geographical region. Figures from the end of the 20th century estimate that there are only approximately 400 to 450 ethnic Andamanese still left on the island, and as few as 50 speakers. The Jangil are extinct. Most of the great Andamani tribes are extinct, and the survivors, now just 52, speak mostly colloquial Hindi. The Ongi are reduced to less than 100 people. Only the Jarawa and Sentinelese still maintain a steadfast independence and refuse most attempts of contact. Their numbers are uncertain but estimated to be in the lower hundreds. The indigenous languages are collectively referred to as the Andamanese group of languages, but they make up at least 2 independent families, and the dozen or so attested languages are either extinct or endangered. Most of tribal people in Andaman and Nicobar Islands believe in religion that can be ascribed in the form of monotheistic animism. The tribal people of the islands believe that Puluga is the only deity and is responsible for everything happening on earth. The faith of the Andamanese teaches that Puluga resides on the Andaman and Nicobar Islands Saddle Peak. Andamanese mythology held that human males emerged from split bamboos, whereas women were fashioned from clay. One version, found by Alfred Reginald Radcliffe Brown, held that first men died and went to heaven, a pleasurable world, but this blissful period ended due to breaking a food taboo, specifically eating the forbidden vegetables in the Puluga's garden. This catastrophe ensued, and eventually the people grew overpopulated and didn't follow Puluga's law. Hence, there was a great flood that left us for survivors who lost their fine. Other religions practiced in Andaman and Nicobar Islands are mostly in the branches of Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Baha'i faith. Port Blair is the chief community on the islands and the administrative center of the Union Territory of Andaman and Nicobar Island groups. The Andaman Islands from a single administrative distinct unit within the Union Territory Andaman District. The Nicobar Islands were separated and established as a new Nicobar District in 1974. The only commercial airport is Veer Savarkar International Airport in Port Blair, which has scheduled services to Kolkata, Chennai, New Delhi, Bengaluru, Hyderabad and Visakhapatnam. The airport is under the control of the Indian Navy. Due to the length of the routes and small number of airlines flying to the islands, fares have historically been relatively expensive, although cheaper for local than visitors. Fares are high during the peak season of tourism and Fares decrease during the time when there is less tourism. Private flights are also allowed to land in Port Blair Airport without prior permission. There is also a ship service from Chennai, Visakhapatnam, and Kolkata to Port Blair. The journey requires 3 days and 2 nights and depends on the weather. Shoykot Kumar Basu, Bureau Report, Kalinga Chronicle TV.